welcome to ScreenHour with me, Kieran.
And me, Mikey.
The show where we give you our impressions and experiences for films, series and games.
We start by sharing our initial spoiler-free impressions, and we warn you before we deep dive into those spoilers.
If you enjoy our content, don't forget to follow us on your preferred platforms with our handle, ScreenHour.
This episode, we're going to be covering Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And in typical fashion, I haven't spoke to Kieran about it much, because we like to leave it until now. I'm really glad I saw it. I've been watching the older ones to a degree to get hyped for it. And this one, I feel, captures the spirit of the older ones, but has some brilliant additions to it. And I like the overarching theme, providing Indiana Jones, the franchise, doesn't come back. Because I like the theme of this one a lot. I like the action, even and I know Kieran's going to slag it off. I even like the start, I even like the intro quite a bit. There is notable flaws like that. There is the Irishman problem.
It's not as prevalent there. The Irishman problem is worse than it is in this, I think. But yeah, as much as I slag off CG, right, and there's plenty of CG to slag off in this film, the actual de-aging of Indiana Jones in that first 20-25 minute segment is the best part of the whole film. After that, the film just goes absolutely downhill. Like it gets progressively worse, and it's fucking horrible. I took my parents to go see it because I used to watch Indiana Jones when I was a kid, and it was like something Raiders. Well, my dad loves Temple of Doom because he loves how dark it is, but he does love Raiders a lot. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's his favourite film of all time. Like, I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure. Trying to get my dad to say what's his favourite of anything. He's like, trying to get blood out of a stone anyway, but pretty sure. So I was like, I want to go treat them. I want to go, see the wrap up of the Indy trilogy. It's like a childhood thing as well for me to watch it with my parents, and it was like really nice. And I am glad I went to see it at the cinema to watch it come to its conclusion. Like, I am glad. I don't think I wasted my money on that experience with my parents and watching it, but the film is fundamentally flawed. It's not good, but it's still better than Crystal Skull. So what does that fucking say about Crystal Skull? Like I said, the first 30 minutes, I thought it was really good, to be honest. I really liked it because it felt like the old Indiana Jones. Granted, yeah, it's the CGI was, some bits was a little off or whatever, but I think the whole arching theme and the characterization of how that young Indy was, how Harrison portrayed himself, because there's a massive difference between how Indy is I don't know how old he is in the film, but how old Harrison is at 80 compared to how old he was at 40 playing Indy. There is a massive difference in his sort of characterization. Like, he's a little less cheeky, and there's other different things, but he still had that implemented when he was playing the younger version of himself. And when he's playing his older version of himself, it's less so. So you could sort of see that overarching arc, but they had all that in the beginning, and I thought, whoa, actually, we're off to a really good start here. I wonder where this is going. And it's sort of, I liked how he was having his retirement party, and he sort of treated his retirement gifts like you'd expect his character to treat his gift, sort of thing. And then we get introduced to Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character. And I was like, okay, it starts off all right. It keeps going all right. And then her character is just like the worst fucking character in any film ever. I
think you're totally wrong. She brings...
Nah, bollocks to you.
Nah.
She's the worst fucking thing in the whole film. She basically shits on Indiana Jones in every fucking opportunity whatsoever. She's shitting on his legacy. She always thinks she's above him. She's always better than him with everything she says and does. She's always belittling him. And it's like, bitch, who the fuck are you? This is an Indiana Jones film. If the film was called Dial of Destiny and nothing to do with Indiana Jones, and it was like she was the main lead or whatever, like, sure. But this film, it's all about her. It's like basically trying to steal the limelight off him and throw him to the side. And as much as I want to shit on this film, been like a week or two since I've seen it, I've had more thoughts about different things, and like the more I thought about it, the more I've started to hate on it.
I think you're slowly turning yourself more and more into an incel. I think that's what's happening there.
But Harrison was really good in this film. Like, I don't want to take anything away from him. He was good. He played Indiana Jones well, and the script was written well for an 80-year-old. It didn't expect him to do things that, like, he's still got the athleticism as a 40-year-old. They wrote it well for an 80-year-old, but the way that they wrote the Helena Shaw character, it completely shits on the legacy of Harrison Ford, and I don't like that at all. And I think there's a general consensus of that on the internet, Mikey. So you can shove your own opinion up your fucking ass.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge is one of the stronger parts of this film. If Kieran thinks she sits on Indy's legacy whenever she can, why is she rescuing him and him rescuing her? And different beats.
It's not that, it's what she says to him and how she interacts with him and how she undermines him at every turn. She never listens to his advice. She's always going against his advice. And it's not towards, even right at the end of the film.
Well, that's a character arc though, isn't it? That's a character arc. She starts listening to him, and that's the end, isn't it? Because she starts listening to him.
Not really. But she didn't even listen to him at the end. She basically told him what's better for him, which ultimately turned out that was the better ending.
Yeah, exactly.
In that instance, yeah.
So there you are then, in that instance.
I just, fuck off. I said, she did make the right call, because if they'd ended it the other way, I'd have been, really what the fuck? That was so shit. But, yeah, her character is absolutely flawed. I really disliked her character. I just felt like it wasn't an Indiana Jones film. It was her film. It's called Indiana Jones, He didn't feel like the main focus whatsoever.
He's in every scene, it is his film. And also, it's them bouncing off each other, which evidently you don't like and I like. It's that which I think is one of the large pros of it, is because we've already had 4 films of just Indy being with a different female, or dare I say it, Shia LaBeouf. So you needed to freshen it up. And the addition of Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character is, I think, just different, and it's fun. And also it makes sense that she wouldn't be squeaky clean, because most people wouldn't be if there was team raiding. It's more realistic like that. And her being cheeky is just, I find that charming. I found that more endearing. And her interactions with Harrison, particularly on the boat, there's a really strong scene on Antonio Banderas' boat.
Who's wasted.
That's really good. Antonio Banderas is,
he's wasted.
I couldn't get anybody to play that. Wait, he's quite charming. He's Antonio Banderas.
I love Antonio Banderas, but he was wasted, yeah. He was wasted in that film. But I don't disagree. It was nice to have a new character that wasn't a love interest. Indy's always had a love interest, whereas this one, he didn't have that. But I felt like Mariana Ravencroft, her character was written so much better, because in this film we have to be told how much Helena Shaw is a badass, how she's left her partner and she's been embezzling money, there's so much that's happening to try and tell us how badass she is, whereas Ravenwood basically in the first fucking 3 minutes realize how badass she is, and she doesn't say a single word because she's out drinking this guy, and he collapses to the table and you realize she's running her own bar, and you get all of these visual implementations, and it all shows you there and then how badass she is and how self-assured she is, because she basically tells Indy to fuck off and screw himself, but she still has the respect for his character and who he is, but she still has that, the past sort of situation. I won't go into all of the history of Indiana Jones, but I felt she was a much better character.
Why does she go toe-to-toe with all the action scenes there? I think Phoebe holds her own in all the action scenes.
Because of how films are made back then, it was more so about the male lead and the women were just the love interest.
No, but that's what I'm saying is you think Phoebe...
It's better in that regard that they've written Phoebe, or even Phoebe's written her own fucking part basically, to make her seem more badass in this, but she's so dismissive of Indy. That is the problem. I'm not saying there's a problem.
I don't think she is though.
She is honestly, on a second watch, you realise what she says.
You're missing the point that she feels abandoned by him though, don't she? And you would feel like that to a degree, and that's how throughout the film she warms to him. You've said, is she makes the executive decision for him, which turns out to be the right one, best for him. And he's obviously very happy with that really in the end, because they've gotten closer due to this is more spoiler talk, but it's covered in a flashback probably about just under halfway through the film. I can understand her character arc. I see it clearly, and I think their relationship is probably the strongest part of the film. I really think that. And the rest of it is just good fun action. And like the theme of being able to, I don't know, just aging and knowing when to, like, theoretically put up your fedora hat, like, and just look on what you've got now and appreciate it while you've got it. I really enjoyed that. And I think there's a few scenes. There's one, like I said, there's one in the middle on the boat. There's one at the very end, which are very strong rehearsing. And then all the action scenes are just as good as you'd expect.
Which ones?
I think in particular, the tuk-tuk chase. The tuk-tuk chase is sick. I really enjoyed that. But you don't, Kieran, I honestly think you're just too cynical. You expect too much as well, like, nowadays.
No. Think of the scene in Raiders of the Ark, right? And he's jumping across truck to truck with a whip and a horse, and, it's going through the glass.
But it's been done.
No. How real did that all look and feel? The tuk-tuk scene is one massive CGI fest, and it's not even good. It's fucking horrible. Goes on for way too long. It could be cut down by 75%. Exactly the same with the parade chase scene when he's on the horseback.
Parade chase scene's sick. It's good. It's different. How often do you see something like that?
It's so long, though. It's like there's so many aspects of the film that needed to be explored more. This film is limited in its action anyway, but the action scenes we do get are just bland. Like, nothing is overly exciting. And I understand, yes, Harrison is 80 years old. I don't want to shit on Harrison at all because he does a really good job in this film. But the way the script is written, it relies on Phoebe for most of the action. Even that action is just subpar. It's just... I'm so conflicted because I did enjoy this film for a standalone film and to watch the conclusion of Indy. But when I look at all the finer details, I realise it is a largely flawed film.
I think you're holding the original trilogy up to too much of, like, prestige on a pedestal and just trying to shoo anything away, which would try and, like, tarnish that. I think that's what it is.
Guess, yeah, there's an element of that for sure. But I didn't go into the film thinking this is going to be a bag of shit. I thought, they've thought this through. I feel like this time, there's no way it can be worse than Crystal Skull. So I was like, it's got to have something to it. And like I say, the first 30 minutes of the film, I was like, they fucking done it. I really enjoyed the first 30 minutes because it felt, back to roots sort of thing. Then, yeah, it went downhill after that point.
One thing I would say is Mads Mikkelsen's performance as the Nazi scientist.
Do you remember his name?
No.
My name is something in German. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to remember that.
No, it's a very German name, his real name. But it's exactly what you'd expect, but in a good way.
Yeah, he was good.
He's not too far away from his Casino Royale villain.
I'd say he's cheekier in this than he is as Le Chiffre.
Yeah, in Le Chiffre, obviously, he's more serious, more deadly or whatever.
Yeah.
In this, he's more, not jovial, obviously, because he's a fucking Nazi scientist, but like you say, he's more cheeky and it's played for more, I don't want to say comedy, but there's bits when it is funny with him.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Particularly towards the very tail end.
I did have a problem with his bodyguards though, Boyd Holbrook and like the really big guy. Boyd Holbrook, don't know if many people know who he is, but I know him from Narcos. And I thought, he's going to be semi-important, but he was just henchman number one. And, there wasn't really anything else to him. He was just henchman number one, and I felt like that was just a bit pointless. And then the big henchman dude, it's like, how many films have we seen with a big-ass henchman dude that, he doesn't flinch from anything, but then one simple little thing, his size outdoes him, and that's what kills him. It's like, how many times do we have to see that same cliche again and again?
No, but I think also that's just, like, part of, like, charming of being, like, a classic action trope film in a way, though. This is what I'm saying. It's hard for, like, people like you who like really love the older ones. Ironically enough, Lucasfilm like have a problem with it. Spoilers because of Star Wars. Lucasfilm is that it's not like what I loved, but like you've changed it a little bit, but you've changed it too much. So there's like there's two big guys, and he's played by the same actor in that part of the original trilogy. The guy who gets killed by the aeroplane propeller,
yeah, in Raiders,
and he's in the Temple of Doom, and they just black him up. It's the same guy. The same big guy in the end of Temple Doom is the guy who gets killed by the propeller. Look, and he's a big, strong Sonic guy. Well, you don't like him in this one because we've seen him too many times. Because it's 35 years on or whatever.
Yeah. We'll submit to that one there, actually, yeah, because They are in all the others.
This is the weird thing with like having like legacy sequels is it's hard to pick and choose, and I'm guilty of it myself. Like I liked Last Jedi because it subverted expectations, and I think I just like being like with a trolley person, but I like something where I don't expect it and it's a bit different. I think one of the stronger points in this is the final last 10, probably 15, 20 minutes of where it looks like it's going to do something. And Kieran alluded to it, and it would obviously we get into this in a bit, and it doesn't happen. You think, is that going to happen? That's going to be too corny.
Yeah, it's going to be shit if it ends that way.
If it ends like that, I can see why they're going to do it, but don't really like it. And it doesn't end like that. You know, that's cool. I think it also falls into, like, if I remember correctly, with the older ones, it's a funny enough quote, Luke Skywalker, like, your overconfidence is your weakness, which are the Nazis all over. You know, they drinking the wrong chalice, or whether it be in this case, the MacGuffin being the downfall of the Nazi scientist. This is what happens in this one, or is it not? It might get into spoilers. But I think for the first time, and I'll have to tell Osman Kieran, the editor, to do this, I honestly think, a green badge, you're going to have to put like a slash down it, or whatever, and you can give it a red badge or a yellow badge, but it's a green badge all day for me. Honestly, I really enjoyed it.
I did enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed the experience that I had in the cinema.
If it was on Now TV, I'd watch it this weekend. It was shot.
Yeah, I would watch it again. But it is a deeply flawed film, in my opinion. Like, I will watch it again, for sure, just to reevaluate my thoughts and opinions. But I think it is a very deeply flawed film. I think if I'm going to watch it again, I'm literally going to watch the first 30 minutes and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to watch it anymore.
First 30 minutes, like covered at the start, it's not as bad as The Irishman. They never got a stunt double unless it was like
dangerous
for like the real stunt.
Yeah.
First 25 minutes. So Harrison moves like 80-year-old Harrison, which is fair enough.
80-year-old Harrison does move a lot better than an 80-year-old Robert De Niro, or however old Robert De Niro is. He's definitely in better shape for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't sound like young Harrison. They should have like AI voiced him
slightly,
but he sounds like old Harrison. But again, that's really nitpicky. That's because
I think another nitpicky thing for me as well is I felt like this film should have been shot in film, not digital, because then it would have helped sell the first 30 minutes, because they use an old film footage, which obviously they've like enhanced to look more digital or whatever, reduce the grain on it. And I think they should have left it as a film, as like film strips, and the rest of the film should have been shot in film to give it the same sort of feelings throughout, and so again, another way to tie in to the older ones. I think that was just an oversight. Like I don't work with the production teams, and I don't know the expense of it all, but I know it's still a possibility to shoot in film because Christopher Nolan does it. You know, there's a few like little tithering things here and there where it was like, it doesn't have the quickness or the charm of the originals, and I think it's simply because it's not done by Spielberg, because even some of those things are in Crystal Skull that aren't in this, which is obviously a Spielberg thing. But there are times where I would notice the camera shot, and I was like, oh, that's very much a Spielberg shot. Spielberg would have moved the camera like this or done that. So there are like little things in there, but there was just not enough of them. But like you say, I'm reminiscing too hard on the originals. So, you know, I kind of have to let that go and accept there's going to be a new direction with a different director and that, and, you know, older and Indiana Jones. And, you know, I still respected all of that. And like John Rhys-Davies' performance was brilliant, bringing back Salah. He absolutely nailed it. He gave you that sort of warmth for his character again, and he's doing his singing, and it's like, it takes you back to, you know, when you're first watching Indiana Jones and he's singing, and then watching it in previous years and stuff. It takes you back seeing somebody else again. I suppose it's a spoiler, that's somebody else, but another character comes back, and, you know, and you see them, and it's, you know, you see older characters and you reminisce because you're like, yes, and they work so well together on screen, and like that's all good. But it was just, for me, it was Shaw and Indy and all other action, and the way she treats Indy, I was just like, as I said, like watching the film, I enjoyed it.
I think you're too attached. I feel like you feel like someone molested your granddad. That's the way you all be about it. You feel like someone's molested your granddad in front of you. That's the way it's.
Well, it's because Indy is such a legacy character. You know him by his silhouette. There's not many people that you would know by their silhouettes. And he's such a legacy character. And I just feel like she's just constantly like undermining him and trying to steal the limelight. And it just knocks me. If like she was in this and then they did her own spin-off, which was just called Dial of Destiny, that had nothing to do with Indiana Jones and he wasn't even in it, she would have been fine, I think. She's still deeply flawed, but I think it would have been fine. But it's because she just kept shitting on Harrison, and I was just like, again, it's something that I've thought on and dwelled on after the fact. In the film, you take it at face value, but afterwards, I'm like, actually, that's not right. And then it's like talking to my parents about it and stuff, and it's like, yeah, we all did enjoy the film, but now we thought about it, it's like, her character's a bitch.
Nah, she isn't. Kieran's got it wrong. She's just a bit of a rogue, and then she just changes throughout the film. James Mangold, he just makes nothing but good films.
Are you sure about that?
I am. I don't know. We get his IMDb up front, but this feels just like a good action film.
Wolverine. Oh yeah, that was a brilliant film, wasn't it?
The Wolverine is, yeah. The Wolverine's a good film.
The Wolverine? No, it's not.
The Wolverine's a good film.
Wolverine Origins is better than the Wolverine.
No, you're wrong. And I don't think, did he direct the Wolverine?
Yes.
Are you looking at Are you thinking of Logan?
No. He directed and produced. The Wolverine is the one that's set in Japan.
Yeah, he hasn't done that according to IMDb. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, he has. He directed it.
He hasn't.
He did. 100%. He directed the Wolverine in 2013. But he did do Ford versus Ferrari, and I do really enjoy that film.
Wolverine, director James Mangold. Oh, I apologise. But yeah, the Wolverine's so much like a good film. It's like a fine film. Logan's really good. I think the thing is, like, again, like what this film has fallen on its own sword when it has like people like you and like who absolutely bum off like the other ones, which are great films. Like if the other ones weren't directed by Spielberg, people would be lapping up James Mangold. People would be like, "Oh, James, you've done a great job, fucking whatever." But it's because it just happens to be Spielberg's one of the best directors of all time. And like arguing the best director of all time.
I mean, he has had some flops.
Yeah, of course he has, but that's because he's fucking a director in his 70s. And statistically, if you make 100 films, 10 are going to be bad. Yeah, if I look at Spielberg's IMDb now, I'm pretty sure he's probably made 60 films. I don't know, let's get into spoilers, because I think we'll be all day. I think me and Kieran have like totally different opinions on them.
So let us know in the comments, who do you agree with? Person who's right?
For the record, he's directed 60 films Steven Spielberg has.
Oh, it's 60.
Producer on 186.
I was going to say, yeah, he's got to have produced a load, hasn't he? Before we deep dive into the spoilers, we'd also like to take this time to sincerely thank you for listening to us.
And if you'd like to participate in an episode, you can leave your thoughts on what you'd like to see us cover next in the comments below, or through our Instagram.
Remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Instagram with our handle, ScreenHour. Now, it's time for those spoilers. Are you ready?
Spoilers for Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. So what I found like really mad, as they say, made the sourish lemons into lemonade, was the whole debacle of Shia LaBeouf. I don't like Shia LaBeouf has been a good actor in things, but what they've done with this is like how like hated his character was from Kingdom Crystal Skull is we write him off screen, but what we do is say he's dead, but his parents are alive, so then that gives them really good acting and a good storyline to grieve.
And that's why you don't see them together anymore.
They just ran with that, and like Kieran says, that's why. And you can, God forbid that ever happened to anybody or whatever. I know it does happen. I can imagine, and so can a lot of other people, you would split up if that happens. Yeah, well, if something like that happens, is a hard thing in a relationship. So them just like every now and again, when it's annoying when they do it to a beloved character who's just left, like an actor just left the franchise. But when like it's a hated character like that and they've wrote him off screen and just said he died in the war. As for general spoilers, what was alluding to, like the main climax was, it was alluded to the whole time, it's the Dial of Destiny. They go back in time, and kind of peed me off a little bit. You saying about I love Harrison or whatever, is he says it and he doesn't really admit it until like just under halfway when he's on the boat. even though he's seeing all this stuff, he's like, nah, he won't take you back in time. And then when he's on the boat, he's like, yeah, I've seen some stuff which I can't explain. So, don't get me wrong, going back in time is a bit more than someone drinking from a chalice and turning into a skeleton. But I feel like after the things he's seen and adventures been on, he would be more leaning plausible.
Oh, especially after Crystal Skull.
Yeah, especially after Crystal Skull. He's seen aliens, shit like that.
The Ark of the Covenant, you open up an Ark and everyone melts. I can understand that. Temple of Doom, you're drinking the blood of Carly and then you're hallucinating and everything. Like, yeah, I understand that. The glowy eggs, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. The Last Crusade, you've got the Holy Grail and then there's the Ghost Knight at the Round Table. You're like, okay, I can understand that. And then you've got Crystal Skull and it's like fucking aliens, the spaceship, and you're like, okay, you're kind of gone a bit far now, mate. Like, chill the fuck out.
You've just listed them all. Like, why would Indy be hesitant in believing in anything after seeing all that? He would be like, fucking time travel. I've seen a ghost. I've seen people get vaporized in front of me.
Yeah, but they're like minor. I feel like they're quite minor.
They're not minor things, though, are they? If someone like got vaporized in front of you because they opened something, you'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But it's compared to time travel, I feel like time travel's a bigger thing.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it is a bigger thing.
Time only goes one way, it doesn't go backwards. So to go backwards is a bigger thing, I guess, because it's not like they went back in time and saw the old knight at the Holy Grail sort of thing. It's his life was lengthened and that, so it's like it's not implausible. Like, I mean, it kind of is scientifically, but you just have to, like, it's movie magic. It's movie magic. Get over it. But then it was just the aliens were like a step like up here, and then I feel like traveling back in time, I think actually just came down a bit because it was. I felt like aliens was too far, but then going back in time, I was like, I'll let it slide. It's like, I'll see where it goes.
The going back in time section was, even though it was like telegraphed throughout the entire film, it was a nice, pleasant surprise that it wasn't World War II.
Yeah.
It never went to plan for the Nazi scientists, for like Mads Mikkelsen. I found it like, that was cool. And then it went like way, way back.
I thought it was a Peloponnesian War, but it wasn't. It was a Syracuse War. I don't know what type of war that was. But basically it's, in fact, I don't even know who was in that fight, but it looks like Spartans and Athenians, but I don't really know.
When the mathematician's creating the Dial of Destiny, I think that's done really cool. And he, like, Indy's in awe of him, type of thing. And so is Phoebe, but Phoebe wants to go. I thought that was done really well. I liked that they still got wrecked because, you know, the plane was fucked anyway. But I like that the plane got shot down. But no, I thought that was cool. The best thing about it was that even though Indy wanted to stay there, like Phoebe said, he would have, like, fucked up history quite a bit. And I didn't want, like, you know, the film was getting on anyway, but the butterfly effect of him, he stayed there. He spoke to the mathematician about, what was the mathematician called?
Archimedes.
Yeah, Archimedes. If he spoke to Archimedes, was conversing with him about different theologies or like the future just a little bit, you know. I didn't want it changing the whole future, then get another 20 minutes of whatever, or even a stupid cliffhanger. But I like that Hannah KO'd him and took him home. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping she would do, to be honest. I was like, don't let the Indy end with him being back in time. Like, I thought that's a fucking cop out. That's shit.
I thought it would just be too corny. And the fact that he meets Marion at the end, she's there for him. And it was just sweet. Like, it wasn't too much. And between that of like the cuteness 1-2 punch of what's the lad with the fez called, the lovely little bloke?
You mean Solar?
Solar, they are.
John Rhys-Davies.
Yeah, so John Rhys-Davies is in it, and then you see him marrying. The ending's just a nice ending.
Yeah, so the ending's quite nice. I'm not sure about the closing shot where the hat's on the rack and then he just pulls, like, he's like drying in the wind or something out on the balcony and he just slaps it back in. I understand the symbol of no one else is fucking Indy but me, but it was like, that's really fucking random because he's meant to be canoodling with her. And like, I preferred the ending actually of Crystal Skull where Mort tries to put on the hat and he takes the hat off him like, you're fucking there, mate, and then walks off. Like, I quite like that compared to just him snapping it off the clothesline.
Have nothing or leave the hat on the stand. Because then, even though, like, apparently before the Crystal Skull, that was meant, Harrison was like, it's over, it's finished. Like, are we going to have one in 5 years when he's 85? Like, for God's sake.
No.
Because it alludes to, like, you know, he's putting the hat back on. He's still there, like, he's still in there.
I don't see it as that. I see it as no one's taking his hat off me. You're like, no one else is Indiana Jones but me. You're not going to fucking recast it. That's why I'd rather be an 80-year-old Indiana Jones than let you recast it. It's the same we did with Han Solo. It was like, no one else is Han Solo but fucking me. So I'm going to kill him off.
Yeah. I just enjoyed the MacGuffin action-adventure nature of it. And there was enough, like, you know, even producer Catherine Kedley's, like, you know, she alludes to him as MacGuffins. But there's enough, like, fun action scenes and, like, chemistry for me in between them for it to work. I quite like as well that at the start, I like Toby Jones. I like Toby Jones, just like Indy looking after Toby Jones.
Yeah, his best friend that's never mentioned in any of the other films.
Toby Jones is really cute, like. But this is what I mean, like, you're like, this is you all over there. You're just like, yeah, but he's not like original, and he's not in the Silver Belt.
He grew up around Helena, always going around their house or whatever, and teaching and talking about the Dial of Destiny and their old adventures. It's always all my old best friends. You know, how is Baz doing? How is old Basil doing? Right? It's like, not once were you mentioned in any other film. Why couldn't it have been Marcus Brody's daughter? Why did it have to be someone else completely? Yeah, I suppose maybe they had to do it for the beginning sequence because I think the actor that plays Marcus Brody has actually passed away. But rewrite the story in a different way. There would have been more sort of stakes involved because we knew Marcus and we knew his involvement with Indy and that, so we would have felt more attached. Whereas in this, there is no attachment, there is no history to her. So the history is what we're told in that film. There's not actually the legacy of history, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, how much of a gap is between the older ones, then Crystal Skull, and then there's a huge gap. So, like, it doesn't have to mention. There's loads of films like that, though, isn't there? There's loads of films like that.
Yeah, but if you recall, like, he was with Ray Winston because they were doing some, like, Cold War shit, like espionage, between the Last Crusade and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They had that period of time, whereas this is set, I think, after just before the Last Crusade or something. I can't recall, but it's, you know, it's after the Last Crusade, because the Last Crusade is set before the war, and this is set at the end of the war.
Very end.
So there's no mention of him in Crystal Skull.
I was going to keep you up at night.
Also, another thing is, I didn't actually realise this. I don't think I really gave a shit, but I didn't realise that Temple of Doom is actually a prequel.
Yeah, I know that. I googled because I was rewatching to get hyped for this, what the chronological order is, and obviously the TV show, The Adventure of Indiana Jones first, then it's Temple of Doom, and then it's
Raiders
of the Lost Ark, and then it's Last Crusade, obviously Skull, and then Dawn of Destiny. But I'm solid Green Badge, and I loved it. I think it's experience, and I think I'm going to have to be a prick, and you're going to have to, like, re-edit a new thumbnail, look like a slash down the middle. Mikey's Green Badge. You can say Yellow Badge or whatever, but no, that's all our thoughts on that, because if I don't put an end to it, I think me and Karen will just be arguing, and that'll be the entire episode.
It makes it more fun, doesn't it, for everyone, if we're constantly butting heads. But yeah, I just think her character is flawed, and there are so many different ways they could have written her character, and the originals were so well written, and, you know, they were strong female characters in their own right.
Are you telling me she's a worse character than the blonde in Temple of Doom?
Yes, because the Temple of Doom, she's kidnapped and taken out of her elements, so that's why she seems like she's a bit of a waste. But she actually challenges Indy intellectually at the right times, at the right moments, and she's in that hysterics because, you know, she's kidnapped and she's put into an area of the world she knows nothing about. But as the film goes on, there's a character arc and she progresses and gets better. In this film, Helena Shaw does not have a character arc. Helena seemingly never, ever seems to make a mistake. She's never wrong, and all in the guise that she's this powerful female figure, yet she ignores Indy and all his years of experience and just shits on his legacy. There are plenty of ways to write a strong female character for young girls to look up to, like we looked up to Indy. And you don't do that by shitting on the very thing that gives you the platform to become the character within this. Like, she's not endearing or even likable. The only element of her that makes her seem somewhat human is her relationship with the kid, and he's only there as a reasoning for having some sort of human element. Right? He's not necessary or integral to any story or plot points or anything, apart from the bit right at the end where it's his plane that saves them. But that could have been anyone. He's just there to make her seem more grounded. But other than that, she's just not a likable character at all. To begin with, you want to invest in her because she seems a little cheeky, a little charming. She's got to bounce off Indy exactly the way Sean Connery bounced off Indy. And they had this real playful banter, but there was also a seriousness there. As you mentioned, the abandonment, that's why she struggles with Indy to begin with, because she feels abandoned by him. Well, Indy feels abandoned by his father, and you've still got that dynamic and deeper camaraderie there, and it's just done so much. But it's basically the same relationship. The relationship between him and Helena in this film is the same sort of relationship as Indy and his dad Henry in Last Crusade. It's the fundamentals are identical, yet that film, The Last Crusade, it's done so much better. It handles the situation so much better. There's so many more like quick quipped lines, such as like the one that comes to my mind is they're just escaping the blimp and they get in the plane, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't know you could fly a plane." Right? And he's, "Fly, yes. Land, no." He was inquisitive, and Indy was quick, and just quick back and forths, and it just really sold their relationships. And in this film, there's none of that whatsoever. And it's just, she is exactly the same bland, boring piece of shit at the end as she is at the beginning.
I don't think she is bland and boring at all. Like she's a different take on what would be someone who's plundering treasure would be like, and playing like people off each other, like hanging around with the wrong type of people because you can make profit off it. And she's a bit of a con artist. I don't know. I think you're just totally wrong about it. I think also you're growing too cynical. Growing too cynical, son. That's what that is as well.
I'll be here forever and a day if I keep bitching about it.
Oh, son.
But anyway, I think jump into picks of the week. What's your pick?
I'll tell you what mine is. Mine's very random. And because I first fancied playing something which is kind of relaxing but a good action game, is I never got round to playing the Ghost of Tsushima DLC. So shout out to Ghost of Tsushima actually being one of the few games where you can carry PS4 save over. So I carried it over on the director's cut because I completed it on PS4 when it came out. Literally, I played the game so much in lockdown. It's a great game. And Icky Island, I've played the DLC for probably only 10-15 minutes. But I just forgot how I remember it being beautiful on PS4, but on PS5 it's incredibly crisp. And the combat's just, it feels cinematic but quite intricate as well. Between it's not really deep. It's literally just change your stances and depend on what type of Mongol warrior you're going against, whether it's stone, shield, or big brute. And it just comes down to timing, and you can just spam your, don't say gadgets because you're a samurai, but throw your kunai or throw your sticky bomb or use your smoke bomb. And it's just fun, and it's different as well. It's kind of relaxing as well, even though you're slicing people's throats and taking their arms off. The aesthetic's relaxing.
I only recently completed that game myself about a month ago, I think, because I got into it and then I realised the game was a lot bigger and longer than I thought it was going to be, and I just burnt out too quickly. And then I only recently went back to it about a month or so ago, and I platinumed it, so I definitely put in a bit of grind into it, and I did really enjoy it. And as I say, it's quite relaxing, therapeutic maybe, where you just you're just vibing and you're trying out your different stances, and because it's all the games is hack and slash, whereas this you've got to be waiting for them to attack to do the right counter, to be the right stances.
If you're parrying correctly, it's so satisfying. And if you try and hack and slash against a red attack, which is also meant to be a dodge one. Oh, don't get me wrong, Jedi, that's what's the first one? Fallen Order. They came out it's the same year. But it's similar in the sense that you got to have a methodical pace for the combat. You can't just try and tank things. Like you say, it's a really good game, and I haven't planned it just because me being me, ain't got the fucking patience, and that's not a detriment to the game. It's not slanging the game off.
It's doing the collectibles. Nobody likes doing those.
Doing the collectibles, yeah, nobody can be fucked for that, especially me. But one of the smart things it does, and I haven't seen a game it was the first game which has done it, is just a little subtle wind blowing. Is your guideline to the next quest, and it's really not. That's one of my favourite little quality of life things about it. But yeah, that's the thing I've been playing or watching or recommending.
I've been super busy lately, so every bit of moment I get, sitting on the shit or whatever like that, I've turned to some mobile gaming just to like see what the hell's going on, sort of thing. And I downloaded Diablo Immortal, and I know a lot of people say it's a very flawed game, but in terms of mobile gaming, it's literally one of the best mobile games I've ever fucking seen and played. And I was like, oh my god, it's just so much fun. So I've put a bit of time into that, and I've only recently downloaded Elder Scrolls Blades, which is also on mobile as well. And like, it's got like that same Skyrim feel, but I know they're unique games in themselves, and I'm finding them quite fun, to be fair. So I'm just vibing with those. But I do want to play Diablo 4, but I don't want to spend 70 quid right now. So I'm just waiting for that to come on sale. And I think I haven't played any of the previous Diablos, and I wasn't quite sure about it. And I thought, you know what, it does seem like something you can just sort of relax and chill out to. You don't have to really be too into it. You can be a bit more mindless with the gameplay. I'm sure there's like huge character builds and stuff or whatever you got to do, but it's a different sort of gameplay that I'm used to, at least. I was like, oh, is it something I'm interested in? I thought, oh, there's a free version on mobile. I thought, I'll give that a go. And like, yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit, to be honest. For some reason, do a bit of mobile game at the moment. I don't know how long it'll last.
The Diablo games are meant to be like incredible, like, and I played like 3, and like 3 was fun, like. But it's just top down. It's just weird playing something top down.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't really play top downs, but when you play top down on your phone, it's like, oh yeah, like that just feels normal sort of thing. But it's a lot of fun. But as I say, like if you play on your phone too much, you do get carpal tunnel syndrome. So you get like pins and needles and shit in your hand, and you got to sort of give yourself a minute. But it does mean that you only game a little bit rather than gaming for hours straight. So yeah. Anyway, that's my little pickies.
Thanks for listening, as always.
Yeah, we appreciate you listening in, and I hope you enjoyed us arguing with each other. No, normally, like, we'll sometimes have differing views, but we'll round up on like a sort of a common ground, but not this time.
Good. All right, son. Take it easy, guys.
Yeah.
Kieran, you're wrong.
I'm gonna stick with the originals.
Exactly, stick with the originals.
I'll take that soundbite and I'll put it in the end of the episode. Stick with the original, says Mikey.
Nah, don't put that.
Alright, see you later then.
Have a good try. Bye.